Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Made for More podcast. Today, I am joined by a wonderfully, exceptionally accomplished guest. It is Keith Abraham. Hello, Keith. How are you?
I'm great, Ellie. Yourself?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm excited to get into today's topic and learn a little bit more about your areas of passion and also expertise. But before we get too far into it, are you able to share a little bit of where did you come from and where are you going?
Yeah, great question. Look, thanks for the opportunity to be part of your podcast. I just love that what you're putting out there in regards to courageous conversations, courageous leadership, because it's something we all need to, really get hold of and be the living example. Where have I come from? I talk a lot about goal setting. So I've been a professional speaker for the last 25 years, spoken to 1.6 million people, 39 different countries, written 6 best-selling books. But what didn't start out like that, Ellie? My first job was in the local council as a weed inspector. But my boss asked me to go on a leadership program about 37 years ago. Now, I definitely wasn't a leader, but when he said you get a week off work with full pay, I thought, maybe I am. And so, so I went along this leadership program and a guy stood up and started talking about goal setting. I'd never heard of it before.
Yes.
I grew up on the farm. My mum and dad didn't talk about goals. I didn't, we talked about trucks and tractors and horses and cattle. We didn't talk about what goal do you want to achieve, son? And so I thought this was a phenomenal concept, and I fell in love with goal setting. And about 25 years ago, I turned it into my passion into a profession. And so I've been talking and writing about that subject of direction and clarity, passion, focus for the last 25 years. Where am I going? Well, I've just created and launched a diagnostic tool to help people set and achieve their goals faster, easier, and sooner. It's called Goal Drivers. And so it's a wonderful diagnostic tool that shows you what's holding you back, shows you how to accelerate forward, and shows you how to elevate your determination. And so that's where I'm going. That's the thing that I'm talking about now, and it's really exciting.
I think it's exciting. I have, full disclosure, have completed the Goal Driver diagnostic. So we'll talk a little bit around that in just a moment. But before we get too far into it, before I hit record, we were talking about goal setting, and I was saying I've been setting goals since I was about 13. And I threw out the comment of, everybody knows what goal setting is. We know about SMART goals. And I feel like Goal Driver is that next level of mastering goal setting. But I did the thing that I don't like to do, which is to make an assumption that everybody does know about goal setting. So tell me a little bit around, or can you share with everyone, goal setting at its most basic form for those that aren't aware about goal setting or SMART goals?
It's because you and I are both avid goal setters. So, once again, I was 24 years of age, and that was the first time I heard about goal setting. You were setting goals at 13. And so I think one of the things there is this assumption that everybody, let me make an assumption that's pretty much 100% accurate, is everybody has heard about goal setting. But there's a big difference between hearing about goal setting and actually doing it. Just like there's a big difference between setting goals and actually achieving them. So one of the things that I can share with people is that unless you have an emotional, mental, and physical connection to your goal, there is a high degree, if you have those three, you become committed, compelled, and connected to that goal. Now, why do we need to be committed, compelled, and connected? So that you'll do the uncomfortable, the inconvenient, and the unknown. And so whenever you set a goal, the bridge that we have to cross is that you'll always be tested, and you'll be tested in that it's a little uncomfortable to actually go from point A to point B. It's a little inconvenient, and it could be a little bit out of your control or what you're regularly used to doing. And so my journey over the last 25 years have, I started talking about SMART goals, and you know what, SMART goals are about 37 years old now. And I'm going to say this, and a lot of people might poo-poo me for doing this, but I don't think SMART goals work. I get the concept. So it's specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, tangible. That's SMART. But they have to be smarter. And the smarter is the emotional connection and the reward along the way for the milestones that you pass. So you and I as adults, unless we have a big enough reason why, we won't do it.
Yes.
We'll find an excuse. And like anything, and I know you probably said this to people you coach, Ali, is that you'll either find an excuse or you'll find a reason, but you can't have both. And so it's so important for people to get a hold of what it means for them to go and pursue a particular goal for them. And so one of the things that I do is I talk a lot about this emotional connection, because, and this is where goal drivers come from. You and I can experience 135 different emotions. Of those 135 different emotions, 64 of them are positive. What the 64 break down into 8, what I call goal drivers. And so we'll talk more about that as we go along. But when people understand their goal driver, they all of a sudden can accelerate towards their goal a bit quicker. They can remove the roadblocks, and they can strengthen the determination, which we all need to pursue any goal. And just to finish on this, here's the classic, Ali. Somebody sets a goal, want to shed a few kilos, been on a good paddock, I've got my COVID cardigan on. And so people said, you know what, that's it. I'm going to lose a few kilos. And you know what, tomorrow morning, I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to eat healthy. Well, tomorrow morning is the day that it pisses down rain.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning is the day that somebody brings in chocolate cake for somebody's birthday. That's that day. Because what the universe says, not to get too woo-woo with you, but what the universe says is, are you serious? Are you serious?
Oh my goodness, I have to stop making myself cake. I can see where I'm going wrong. Oh my goodness. But yes, you're 100% right. And I think it's interesting because weight loss is a huge goal that most people at some point in time, normally around January 1, that's when we set it. Normally around February 1 is when we decided it's a bit hard or we've forgotten about it. But what I liked when you were saying, let's make him smarter, and we'll talk about the emotional side. When it comes to the reward, are we thinking the end result reward, or are we thinking the reward along the journey?
You got to reward yourself along the journey.
Yeah.
Because, what tends to happen is, look, there are 3 rewards. Here's the first reward. When you reach a milestone, you should recognize, celebrate, reward yourself. And look, and that could be, it could be something simple. It could just be pausing and reflecting at a very basic level, or it can be a significant tick. I've got a mate of mine, and as he's selling his coaching packages, he's got this big flip chart. And so, another one sold, and then in between, like when he gets to 10, then there's the reward. And the reward is him and his partner, going out for a dinner for 2 and a night in town, okay. But that's not the end goal, by the way. End goal is like 100 of these. So he's got these lovely rewards. Now, so that's the second reward. Here's the third reward. The third reward is the one that nobody ever thinks about. It's the goal beyond the goal.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. What is it? Tell me the goal beyond the goal.
The goal behind the goal is, so often the goal that we're pursuing is not the goal. Oh. So what happens is we go, right. So firstly, the reward along the way. Secondly, the goal we achieve. Third is the goal beyond the goal. And what we often say is, sometimes we've got to think a little bit beyond the goal. What's that goal really going to give you?
Oh, that's so good.
And so that's the sense of an emotion. That's an accomplishment. Maybe that's defeating one of those things that's been hanging around for a long time.
Yep.
And I often talk to people about, okay, now you've told me the goal. Now tell me the goal beyond the goal. Or you mean the next goal? No. I mean the reward and the result for you really obtaining that goal. Oh, I'll get promoted. Yeah. But what does that give you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a sense of status. Oh, a sense of accomplishment. Oh, an extra 10K salary, pay rise. Great. What do you do with the 10K? Oh, the 10K, that's for sending my kids to a better school. Yep. That's the goal beyond the goal.
Yes, I love it. So what does it actually mean for you and to you when you achieve it? Oh, 100%. So good. I love that. So the goal beyond the goal. So of these 35 emotions that we get to experience, the 64 that are positive, the 8 that are our drivers, what are our 8 goal drivers that, this makes up the population, right? So it would be nice
100%.
if everyone could be divided, but probably not.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we've landed with this, and often people will say, oh, Keith, is this like a Myers-Briggs or a DISC or something along those lines? And I'll say, Myers-Briggs and DISC, and by the way, I'm an accredited DISC person 1,000 years ago, tells you where you're at.
Yes.
What my goal driver profile does is shares with you, firstly, a little bit of philosophy around what goal drivers really mean, which is the background information. Then it tells you where you're at. But then, Ali, as you've seen in your driver profile, it tells you how to get from point A, where you are right now, to point B, faster, easier, and sooner. Now, what's the opposite? Faster, easier, sooner? Slower, harder, never. So we want to make sure that I want to help people accelerate towards their goal. I want them to be able to elevate themselves above the challenges, the circumstances, the beliefs, and I want them to be able to accomplish what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to them. And that's where goal drivers comes out of. So to give you the 8 goal drivers, the first is successful influencer. The second is the purposeful explorer. And successful influence, when I say successful influence, I'm not talking about social media. I mean, these are the people who want to influence circumstances and situations around them. They want to create momentum in their life. The purposeful explorer is about creating legacy. So the goals they want to achieve are bigger picture and actually are bigger reasons why, because they want to create a legacy. Then you've got people who are the inspired pathfinder. Now, the inspired pathfinder is about motivation, but they tend to blaze a pathway for others to follow. So a great leadership trait is to inspire people around you, but they're driven by being that living example. The next is the happy torchbearer, and this person is a person that the goal they want to pursue is about joy.
Yes, love it.
So if they're not getting joy out of it, love out of it, happiness out of it, they're up and out of there. Mm-hmm. So it's so important for them to making sure that whatever they do energizes, enthuses, and engages them. Mm-hmm. The next is the organized planner. This person wants to control circumstances and situations. In actual fact, the nth degree of this, they actually try and control the stuff they can't control and get frustrated because they can't stop the water. So these people are the organized planner. They're obviously a great person because they're systems and process orientated, and their goals are very methodical in how they plan them out and then how they execute to them. The challenge, of course, sometimes is just having that flexibility to be able to change the plan as you're going through and to reprioritize and then to re-execute. The respected achiever is all about mastery. They are looking to be masterful at whatever they do, and during that process to receive the acknowledgement that they are masterful. It's not their main driver, but they like to have people, sort of give them those accolades because that's one of their benchmarks as they move forward. The next, of course, is the confident believer. And this is about backing yourself and having enough belief in yourself that you are worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving whatever you set out to achieve. And the final one is about the relaxed peacemaker. These people don't want to be in conflict in their life. And what I mean by conflict, not conflict with other people, but doing roles that are conflicting to their values or are conflicting to how they really want to go about their life. And so the real driver for them is about being in flow. Their mantra sometimes is no flow, no go. And so it's so important that now, of course, some of your listeners are probably going, okay, what, how do you find out what you are? Because each one of them, what I've created is a report that actually shares with you what are the best habits for you, what's your best communication strategy, how you like to be mentored, how you add value to other people in a team. More importantly, what you're fearful of. What are the best of the 24 different habits, emotionally, mentally, and physical habits? What's the best 3 for your driver? More importantly, what's the best mindset? If there are 8 amplified attitudes, what's the best one for you to focus on?
Yeah.
So, 9 years of research, 4 years of working with a diagnostic specialist, the psychometric scientist to come up with this whole process. It's been a journey, to say the least, but the results are phenomenal. Feedback's been tremendous, and people are telling us that it's like 89.3% accurate. So it's been a really good. It's been a really good journey so far. So yeah, so they're the 8.
It's amazing, and as I mentioned earlier, I have done the Goal Driver, a diagnostic, and it was sensational. The report that came out of it
What did
blew
you
my
get out of
mind.
it, Ali? For
What
you
did I?
personally?
Well, I think what we touched on earlier is I've been a goal setter for a very, very long time, but sometimes I achieve my goals, no worries. It's not a problem. It seems to be in flow. Other times I achieve my goals by the 29th of the month and screech into home base. And other times I get to, what should be my deadline and realize that I've not done much at all in relation to my goal. And that's probably where we're talking about, the friction piece, where it hasn't truly aligned with what I want to be doing. But I think with any kind of diagnostic, it's really validating to see it in black and white or in rainbow for your report's sake. Is going, actually, here's the formula, here's how I operate, and being told what your next step is and where you need to go and what you need to be focusing on. So I think for me, it was just that clear pathway of going, oh, yep, I can definitely recognize that, particularly probably what would say the negative parts or what are the roadblocks for me. I'm like, yeah, actually, that's a tough pill. That was a tough pill to swallow, but not, not a surprise.
That's not surprising, Ali. I've had people so far that have done it from all walks of life, entrepreneurs, a CEO of a $1.4 billion organization. I got him to complete it. And when I followed him up to say, how was it, Rob? His was his first response. Keith, it was very confronting. I went, oh, okay. Gee, how's this conversation going to go? And I said, what do you mean by that, Rob? And he said, everything in your report is scarily accurate.
Yep.
And he said, it's almost like you've been following me around and inside of my head for the last 12 months, because this is exactly what I've sort of been thinking about, that I need to change and adjust. And he said, but when I actually saw it on paper and read it to myself, it was like this validation, confirmation, just like you said, around what I really need to do to evolve and go to the next level. And what was yours again, Ali? What was your?
Mine was the successful influencer.
Beautiful. So can we just dissect yours a little bit? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I can tell you about your report, Ali. You are driven to become brave, strong, invincible, and you are decisive. So you make decisions quick, and if they're not the right decision, you make another one, or you make them right. You desire to be ambitious, courageous. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Interesting. That you're synergy.
Prosperous.
Yes.
And you are exceptionally tenacious. And your mantra almost is tenacity wins every race. Hang in there. Doesn't matter if I cross the line first, as long as I cross the line. Others best describe you as committed to making things work. You are most liked. When challenged, as a way, challenges for you are like an accelerant. They're a way of you pushing yourself further and out of your comfort zone. Your best mindset for you is about being grateful, especially when things are not great. You see, one of the things we talk about when we talk about mindset and amplified attitude for successful influencers, it's to be able to stop and go, right, and look, things go pear-shaped, but you got to stop, reflect and go, okay, what's the lesson from this? What am I grateful for? Because if you, like anybody, if you do not find the gratitude, you become bitter, not better. Greatest fear, of course, is failure. But for you, it's not an option. This is not an option. I will stand in a pool of blood to get the job done. When you're under pressure, should we talk about that?
This is very awkward for all of my listeners who have been listening to the podcast for 2 years. It's like, oh, my dirty laundry.
Oh, no, I'll move on.
No, that's
okay. Well, you know what happens for you, for the successful influencer, they get frustrated at the lack of progress. And that frustration sometimes spills out. Yes. And so it's like, oh, geez, I wish I could put the genie back in the bottle. You know what? Okay, let's talk about what you need to stop doing. Stop thinking long term. Sometimes we think successful influencers think a little bit too short term, but you need to think about long term, the long term gain. I want to get to here, and it's like, don't get to there. And that's okay. It's a journey, and sometimes you're going to take some detours. What's the roadblock you need to get over? And really, it's yourself. It's asking for assistance. Successful influencers are people who go, I should know this. I should know this, and I don't want to be vulnerable or a sign of weakness in not knowing the answer. And so that's look, and anybody can get that snapshot. If they go to mygoaldriver.com, they can access their 4-page report for free. And so all of your listeners can have access and so get, okay, I wonder what mine is then. I wonder now here's the reason why it's so important, Ellie, is that, see, once I know this, then, and I'm confirmed to this, if people get the full report, so the full report is $87. They get 46 pages, 135 different insights, 24 tools and techniques, as well as 36 performance accelerators. So, this is this part of saying, well, okay, Keith, I know where I'm at, this point A. How do I get to point B faster, easier, and sooner? And there's 36 strategies there. And the final piece of the puzzle, of course, is at the end of the workbook, is the 2-page, 90-day roadmap. And it takes all the questions, takes a piece out of the workbook, and you put them into your 90-day plan to move yourself forward.
Love it.
And so, it's really, really powerful. I'm glad you love the Goal Driver. It's really exciting for me. It's been as I said, a work in progress. Lots of talking to people, lots of research, and I have to tell you, by the way, one of my the reason why I can say one of my drivers is successful influencer. So when I wasn't achieving, so I have so you'll have a primary and a secondary. So my primary is successful influencer, and my secondary is respected achiever. So that's the mastery I find. That's what I want to be masterful as a presenter and everything like that. And if I can zip this over here, one of the things. So the 4-page looks a little bit like this, but the full report is has got all of this detail in there, right through what's the how do you stay focused, and what do you need to start doing, stop doing, how to develop yourself, what are the 4 best ways for you, how to communicate and connect with the other drivers. And one of the things that I took the time to do is when people really start to understand themselves, they can then, I don't know, I say this to people, are people okay, Ali, and I hope your listeners are okay with this, are they okay with an unfair competitive advantage over themselves?
Yeah.
I mean, how many
work
times?
Smarter, not harder.
How many times do we trip ourselves up? I love that quote from Sir Edmund Hillary. He said, "It's not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves."
Oh, yes.
And I just think that what Goal Drivers does for people is it just helps them to get themselves out of their own way to really achieve what's most important to them and to the people who mean the world to them.
I think you are absolutely bang on. And for all of our listeners, absolutely jump on to the link. I'll put it in the show notes as well, because it is brilliant. And I think it's the validation that many of us need to go, why am I having so many troubles goal setting? Or, perhaps they're even, new year, new you. We're nearly out of this 2-year cycle, and perhaps it's time to set some new goals, and rather than go small, go big. I'm just curious, Keith, what you've found throughout your research. You've been doing this for a number of years. When you were going through the 8-year process of compiling these 8 drivers, and we're talking short-term versus long-term goals, I know that you've got 90 days in your workbook here, but what do you recommend as a short-term versus long-term when we're thinking near and far-sighted or planning?
Yeah, look, it just depends. One of the things I often say to people, Ali, is, and let's just work backwards. I've talked a lot over the years about helping people set 100 goals they want to achieve in their lifetime. So that big, because that becomes a catalyst to give you some direction, purpose, and passion moving forward. In actual fact, it helps you to find, your real why. So one of the things I often say to people, look, a short-term goal can be anywhere from 1 day to 1 month. A medium term can be anything from 1 month to a year. A long term could be anywhere from 2 to 5 years. There isn't a right and wrong around this. For some people, when you say, one of my clients is Toyota, and the Japanese have a saying around, the 100-year plan, they've got a 100-year goal. And so I'm not sure that people need to have that, but they definitely need to have something to look forward to, because, and this is the challenge that your listeners and my clients have struggled with over the last couple of years during COVID, is has been a sense of uncertainty. There is a high degree, when people are uncertain, people will stop setting goals, and obviously anxiety goes up. Mental health issues creep in because I can't see where I'm actually going to. And so one of the things I say to people is, now's the time to clarify what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to you, because from clarity comes confidence, and from confidence comes a high degree of certainty. But what's the byproduct of having a high degree of certainty is that you and I have a more consistent mindset and are more consistent in taking action. Because let's face it, how many people do you know that are consistently inconsistent? And so this is about making sure that we have that ability to once again, just to stop at the moment. And look, and I haven't done the 100 goals for people over the last couple of years. I've been saying to people, tell me 20 things you want to achieve in the next 12 months. Because we have to have something to look forward to. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. We have to have a vision for the future, not a memory of the past. And so the vision for the future for some people, from a short-term perspective, is 20 things they want to tick off. Here's some of the things on my list. I want to just do my next level of barbecue mastering course that I'm going to do, like that, because I want to take my barbecuing skills to the next level. I've learnt during the course of COVID on how to become an excellent barbecue. It's only taken me, about 30 odd years of burnt steak, but you know what? I'm pretty bloody good. And I'm not saying that as a brag. I'm just saying when people come over and they go, holy guacamole, this is good.
Do you have guac?
Do I have guac? Yeah, I can't. You can have guacamole with steak. If we're doing a little, if we do a little tomahawk and then we slice it up and we make it a Mexican, a bit of Tex-Mex night.
Excellent, love it.
Yeah, there you go.
Love a bit of guac. Sorry, I'll get back on track.
A little detour there, but thank you for that question.
Barbecue mastery. What's another one that's on your
for me,
your 20 goals?
30th wedding anniversary this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Christine and I have been married 30 years. We've been in business together for 25 years, and we've obviously, so September this year. So I always organise the anniversary trip. So making that all happen, really important. I got another little one. So while I haven't been travelling as much and been presenting from my studio here in Brisbane, one of the things that is I've had a phenomenal amount of time around. And so I've got involved in my local community cricket club, first grade side here in Brisbane, Toombul, the mighty Toombul Bulls. And so I'm the team manager there. So I'm, one of the things that I'm working on is a high level of professionalism. We have got national and state players in our side, and we have got aspiring national and state players. So I'm just bringing a different level of, firstly, mindset and the whole goal setting around sports performance into it, but also just a level of professionalism as well. So that's been really cool to do that. And the other thing is, one of my daughters is well, both my daughters are great artists. One is a graphic designer, and one is a kahuna massage and is quite and a facilitator working with kids on the spectrum, and so we're going to write a kids book around goal drivers. We just decided on Friday. So yeah, so we're going to do a little kids story, and both of them are pretty entrepreneurial, so that's going to be really cool to do that. So there's a few things in the pipeline.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know earlier when we first started talking about goals, and not everyone knows it, whereas my 8-year-old at school does goal setting in his class, amazing. And it's very cute. Amazing. He'll be like, my goal for this term is to tidy up my handwriting. I'm like, yes, that is a good goal to have. But
yeah, it's a great, and you know what? It's just more relevant now. I mean, look, if they did say it when I was going to school, I wasn't paying attention, but it was like, but it's the old story as well. I wrote a book called B. Yes. Which originally I wrote for 13, 12, like kids as young as 10, right up to the age of 30, those kids as well, are reading that book because it's a lovely introduction to goal setting and to this whole concept of goal drivers. But it's a really fun, funky book and ultra easy to read, heaps of activities in it and stuff like that. And it's a great book just to get kids to start to think a little bit about what does the future hold, because, it has been it's been a weird and funky time over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Is that book available on your website as well?
Yeah. If they just go to keithabraham.com, they can, just keithabraham.com, and you can get the B book as well.
Brilliant. And I'll put the links for that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
So your top 5 tips for leaders. What do you wish you'd known?
Yeah, I wish I'd known these ones. Here's the first one. You got to be the living example.
Yep.
You have to be the living example. You can't be the talking example. Can't ask your people to do things that you haven't done or are not prepared to do yourself. The second is you've got to know the difference between communication and connection.
Oh, boom.
And so here's my quick definition around that. I can tell people 100, I can say something to someone 100 times, they'll never hear the message or they'll never respond to the email. But if I have a connection with them, they'll respond to every email and they'll get the message because we have a connection. We have trust, rapport, and credibility. The next is taking the time and the energy to build greater belief in your people. And this is not about telling them that they can do it, but to go through and to develop and work on those people around mindset, understanding their priorities, making sure they've got goals, and understanding as well that their goals outside of work. The greatest leaders that I've worked with are ones who are concerned and engage me to come and talk to their people about their personal goals more than their actual business goals.
Yeah.
And to build people's belief. The next is making sure that you have high value, high payoff daily habits. So, we often talk about, is this a $25 job? Is it a $250 hour job? Is it a $2,500 hour job? Is it a $25,000 hour job? And so making sure that you have habits, because what we do know is people create habits and habits form futures. And so to making sure that you've got great habits. In actual fact, in the Goal Driver, the full report, there are 24 daily habits.
Yeah.
What it'll tell you is what are the three best for your profile. But you need to have habits that will move you faster, quicker, easier towards what you want and move away from what you don't want. And the final one is, as a leader, we have to make sure that we shift our internal dialogue. And if I can do something, one of the things that I say to people, Ali, is that often our internal language starts like this. Am I? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I deserving? Am I capable? Am I a good leader? Am I engaging with my people? And we have to, and now that if you are constantly asking and questioning yourself, it diminishes your belief as a leader.
Yeah.
And we have to flip it around to move from am I to I am. I am worthy. I am deserving. I am capable. I am successful. I am a great leader. Because all of a sudden we move from a question to a statement.
Yep.
And when we move that to a statement, which becomes an affirmation, what we then do is we raise up our personal belief and we get on this cycle of goal, action, result, belief. And as our belief builds, we become a better leader.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you are absolutely right. There is a lot of, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough?
Am I worthy? Am I capable? And by the way, I had a mentor share that with me about 2 years ago. And all of a sudden, it shifted my mindset away from comparison, which is the thief of joy.
Yep.
And it moved me then into affirming what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because I'd often, why am I not as good? Why am I not as good as that person? And they're getting selected to stand on that stage or whatever it might be. And I just would say, it's nothing about them. It's all about me. And this is this thing I was saying before about, this is one of those ways to get an unfair competitive advantage over yourself. And that's about shifting that internal dialogue.
I love it. And that's where Made for More actually came from all of that internal monologue of, am I enough? Am I worthy enough? Am I too much? To made for more. So there you go.
Yeah, 100%.
Shifting the chitter chatter, or the itty bitty shitty committee, as I like to call it, which
is
often
I
not
love
very
that.
helpful.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, 100%. It's like you question yourself, and of course that questioning turns into doubt. Yeah. And here's what I can say: doubt sees the darkest night, certainty sees the light of day. Doubt asked who believed, and certainty answered I believe. I have to believe in myself.
I love that. Make that into a quote, I think. That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Keith. So number one was you got to be the living example. Number two, got to know the difference between communication and connection. Number three was around building greater belief in your people. Number four was around having high values and high payoff in your daily habits. And number five is shifting that internal dialogue from am I to I am.
Beautiful.
It's been real. Thank you so much, Keith. I'm actually off to go and sort out my 90-day goals now.
Excellent.
Put a few things in my calendar about my high value, high payoff daily habits that I think I've been neglecting a little bit. Do you have any last words for the audience?
Oh, look, here's what I encourage people to do is go and jump on mygoldriver.com. It takes 5 to 7 minutes to do the 10 sets of questions. What will pop out at the end of it is, if you just go for you'll get the free snapshot, which is, it's just about to be increased to 6 pages. You'll get that. You'll get the option if you want the whole enchilada, to click on a button and just upgrade. You don't have to do the assessment again. And that will give you profound insights that'll take the knowledge that you have and turn it into wisdom that you need. And so, I'd encourage people to do that. And I suppose the last thing, we mentioned Edmund Hillary before, Ali. I love that quote from Edmund Hillary. He was asked by a good mate of mine, what was it like when you got to base camp? And you looked up at Everest, and he said I thought it was too high. He said, I thought it was too cold. I thought it was too hard. And my mate said, what'd you do? And he said, simple, I just put one foot after the other. And I think if people take the first step, they will be more. And that's what you ask people to do, is to be more, so they can have more and so they can do more for the people that mean the world to them.
Absolutely. Amazing. It has been absolutely incredible having you on today. And I'm sure people are frantically writing notes, not if you're driving, of course,
No,
on goal setting. But I'll be sure to put all of the links to Keith's goal drivers into the show notes. Jump on, check it out. It's an absolute game changer. And why wouldn't you want to give yourself a little bit of a leg up when it comes to goal setting to accelerate your own success? I think, take what you can when you need it. So thank you, Keith. You've been amazing.
Thanks, Ellie.